to Eggs and Issues, a monthly business forum bringing timely economic discussion to the region for 35 years. Presented by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to our 2019-2020 sponsors and partners. Presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare. Cooperating sponsors, First Light, WEX, and Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Community Corner sponsor, Goral Palmer. Parking sponsor, CV and Mahar Engineers. Reception sponsors, Clark Insurance, KeyBank, and Veril. Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs sponsors, Springborn Staffing Center and AAA Northern New England. Media partners, News Radio WGAN, The Forecaster, WMTW, and Maine's CW. Maine Biz, with production support provided by Headlight. And thank you to our 2019-20 special community partners. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, the University of Southern Maine, and Southern Maine Community College. And now, please welcome Portland Community Chamber President, Jim Cohen.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. This is the first Eggs and Issues of the new decade. And of course, Eggs and Issues is the original monthly business breakfast hosted by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. My name is Jim Cohen. I'm a partner with the Veril Law Firm, and I'm honored to serve as the volunteer president of the Portland Community Chamber. Now, today's topic is workforce solutions with Maine's community colleges. Despite a recovering economy, encouraging signs of new investment, and a low unemployment rate, Maine has a problem. There are not enough skilled workers to fill the jobs we have available today. But with us today to address this issue is Dave Daigler, president of Maine's Community College System, who will discuss the vital role community colleges play in developing an educated, skilled, and adaptable workforce in Maine in a way that is responsive to the changing needs of our economy. However, before we move on to today's program, a quick preview of some upcoming events. Next week, the Chamber will be hosting Growth Basics Tech on Tap edition, as well as another Women of the Chamber event. And next month, Eggs and Issues will be on the topic of the future of our region, planned development, and the economic impact, featuring the Downs of Scarborough and Rock Row of Westbrook. This promises to be a very interesting event, so sign up right away. Now, speaking of signing up, our annual awards event and community celebration, Imagine Portland, is only a few weeks away on Wednesday, January 29th at Brick South on Thompson's Point. We're extremely excited to honor our 2020 award winners, Dana Totman of Avesta Housing, the Catalyst Award, Portland Adult Education, the Collaborator Award, Bill Caron and Rich Peterson of Maine Health and Maine Medical Center, the Champions Award, and Paula Mahoney of Words at Work as our visionary volunteer. These award recipients are not only very deserving, but they reflect the Chamber's priorities of affordable housing and workforce development. And based on your feedback, this year's event will feature a brand new award show format which better allows you to make those valuable community connections with nearly 1,000 expected attendees. Imagine Portland has been referred to as networking nirvana, after all. This highly desirable event still has limited sponsorship opportunities available. Tickets are on sale and going fast. Buy yours today and learn about the event at portlandregion.com. We are greatly looking forward to our reimagined annual event, and we hope to see you on January 29th at Imagine Portland. The generosity of our sponsors allows the Chamber to continuously enhance our events. A special thanks to our Eggs and Issues presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare, and to each of our partner sponsors who make this event possible. Thank you for your generous and continued support. And a warm thank you to our special community partners, Anthem, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, University of Southern Maine, and Southern Maine Community College. These partners support each of the Portland Regional Chambers initiative as well as our entire event season. Thank you. Our sponsors make this possible. Our members give us purpose. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize our newest members to the Chamber. As you'll see, these are a great group. These organizations all joined within the past month. So to our new members, welcome to one of the largest and most active business communities in the state. We look forward to working with you all. You can learn more about these and all of our members at our online member directory available on our website. A quick round of applause for all of our new members. AAA Northern New England and Springborn Staffing provides support for Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs program, which allows area high school and college students to attend Eggs and Issues. And with us today, we have students from, amongst others, Southern Maine Community College, University of Southern Maine, and Gorham High School. A quick round of applause for all of our students here today. As always, Headlight Audio Visual provides us with our technical support, and the video from today's keynote presentation will be made available shortly to today's Eggs attendees. And past videos can be found on our website and YouTube channel. Our FMI sponsor is the Portland Public Library, who will be providing more information on today's topic. All attendees will receive this information from the Chamber via email in the coming week. Goral Palmer is our 2019-2020 Community Corner Program sponsor. And today's featured nonprofit organization is Farrow's House. Farrow's House is the only federal residential reentry center in Maine. At their 20-bed facility in Portland, Farrow's House helps male and female offenders transition back to the community after their release from federal institutions. They provide evidence-based case management services and help offenders find jobs, stable homes, rebuild family relationships, and connect them with substance abuse and mental health treatment services. Since 1972, Farrow's House has served over 4,000 offenders returning to Maine. To learn more, visit farrowshouse.org. In recognition of their great work in our community, the Chamber will be making a contribution to Farrow's House. I would also ask that any representatives of the Farrow's House with us today please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much. And one last note that we are again partnering with Maine Green Power to power all of our Eggs events from now through the end of the 2019-2020 season. Maine Green Power is the voluntary green power option for electricity that is available to Maine's homes and businesses. Now, on to today's discussion on workforce solutions with Maine's community colleges. Our presenter is Dave Daigler, president of the Maine Community College System. President Daigler has been with Maine Community College System, MCCS, for almost 20 years. First as Chief Financial Officer, then as Vice President, and finally as President in 2019. Prior to rejoining MCCS in 2003, he served as Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer at Community Health Services in Portland and as Director of Administration at the Maine Medical Center Research Institute in Scarborough. In his current role, President Daigler has spearheaded efforts to build on and expand the community college system's workforce training programs, particularly short-term programs, in response to the needs of the business community and the state. So please join me in welcoming Dave Daigler to the stage. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jim. I really appreciate that. Good morning. I'm excited to be here today, and I'm excited to talk to you about what the Maine Community College System is doing to address workforce development. But as I was preparing my remarks, I thought it might be helpful if I gave you a little bit of my own background story. Not something I talk about a lot, but I think that there's a correlation or a degree of relevance. So the first thing you have to know is that I graduated from college in 1980, a long time ago. And then I went immediately to work in a family business in Buffalo. We had a pair of Mayflower agencies in Buffalo and Rochester, New York. So now you know three things about me. One is I've been to a few rodeos. Two is I'm not from here, but Karen and I moved here by choice, so that ought to count for something. And three is, yes, I married a younger woman. When I graduated in 1980, the prime interest rate was about 15%. And in the transportation industry, those big green and yellow Mayflower trucks that we owned were very expensive. So we had a lot of debt. And literally every penny and then some that we made went to servicing that debt. So we began to restructure the business and we began to restructure our debt load. And by 1985, we were making some progress. There was light at the end of the tunnel. Until one day in early March, a guy by the name of Bob Deemer, who was our banker with the Bank of New York, called me. And he called me to tell me that the Bank of New York had sold its Western Regional operation, and that Western Regional operation the Western Regional operation was going to have to liquidate our debt because it wasn't moving with the sale of the new business. And so we were in trouble. We had no access to financial capital. I thought for a bit. Sorry, that's actually not Bob, but that is how I think of him. I thought for a bit, and I called my friends at Mayflower. We were one of Mayflower's largest agencies, and I thought that they would want to buy our business in order to save the business volume. They were interested, and on Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock, I met with the president and the vice president at Mayflower, but by noon it was clear that we weren't going to be able to consummate a deal. And so, as it happens, on March 20th, 2 o'clock, from a telephone booth in the Indianapolis airport, I called my dad, told him we were done. So what relates here is we had a struggle and we did not have access to financial capital. The businesses we work with today lack access to human capital, and that may be a distinction without a difference. If someone had told me that there was $250,000 sitting in that warehouse, I'd have wheeled it down to the bank, I'd have made a deposit, and it would have been a huge help. So imagine if I were able to stand here today and tell you that there are 250,000 people living in the state right now who, with some skill development, could go a long way to solving our workforce problem. Let's look at that notion real quickly. Oh, I keep going backwards, sorry. So, if you give me there we go. This is Kendra. Kendra was at home with her 4 children. She had some experience in event planning, but really she didn't have any skill to rely on, and with 4 kids, she needed an income. A friend encouraged her to investigate Southern Maine Community College. Today, Kendra is a registered respiratory therapist. She works at 2 hospitals in Southern Maine, and she's interested in getting her bachelor's degree in healthcare administration. Now, Kendra is an example of what we call workforce participation. Most of the people in Maine are working. That's represented by that sort of dark greenish gray bar at the bottom. The unemployed are that little yellow bar right along the middle. And then in the top, almost 15%, over 15% actually, of the working age population has stepped out of the workforce. They're neither employed nor unemployed. And that represents well over 100,000 people. Let me give you one more example. This is Travis. Travis was working in northern Maine. He made $11 an hour. He got no overtime. He had no health care benefits, and he couldn't put food on his family table. He couldn't pay the rent. He was very frustrated. He made the courageous move of enrolling in our logger training program, a 12-week training program, and positioned himself for a $40,000 a year job at the end of that training. Now, Travis represents a different group of people, those that economists call underemployed. Underemployed are people who are capable of doing a lot more, but there is something that's inhibiting them from doing that additional work. And most of the time, it's a skill development. Now, there are various ranges of estimates for the underemployed, but what we know is that in Maine, there are 185,000 people who have some college and no degree. 185,000 with some college and no degree. College attainment in Maine trails all of New England, and by a large margin. And that's a problem, and that is a focal problem of the current workforce dilemma. Now, feeding this problem is a current dilemma with high school graduates. We have a great high school graduation rate, but 38%, almost 4,200 a year, choose not to go on to higher education. We need to encourage them to get a skill. These are troubling trends, but they're not new. A legitimate question is, why is this so much more of a problem now than it was 5 or even 10 years ago? The world has changed. Automation is changing the workplace. Now, these are McKinsey Global Institute's words, not mine. Automation and artificial intelligence are having a profound effect on the workplace. While McKinsey estimates that 40% of jobs could be automated, in Maine, the impact is even higher, because the highest impact is with manufacturers, food service workers, people in the retail trades, and people in forestry and fishing. Those industries that are core to Maine are suffering from automation. So in order to go to work in those industries, you need a skill. Let's take a look at retail, and maybe we'll understand a little bit of how this transformation impacts Maine. Retail happens to, happens 3 of the top 5 employers in Maine are retailers. 10 of the top 25 are retailers. So let's take a look. Remember the old family store down the street? This is Porches Building down on Congress, not far from here. No longer. The family store has given way to the big box store out in the suburbs. And when you go in that big box store, you find fewer and fewer cashiers and more self-checkout stations. Those cashiers with on-the-job training might have moved up to be customer service representatives. Not anymore. We have an app for that. That's if you choose to go into the retail establishment at all. Most of us point, click, and deliver. In fact, some of you probably made an order while you were sitting here having breakfast. And what about those deliveries? As we speak, Amazon is testing autonomous delivery. It's magnanimous change in the workplace. But it's not just retail. Food services is going through the same kind of change. If you go into a family restaurant, you're likely to order your meal from an iPad. And if you go into a fast food restaurant, leave your iPhone in the car. They have a big one waiting for you right inside the door, but they don't have any people to take your order. I was out of town not all that long ago and went out for a cup of coffee and got exactly what I wanted. Cream, no sugar, delivered by a robot. That's not the only robot I ran into. Karen and I were out of town not long ago. The elevator doors opened and out came Robo. Marched dutifully down the hall, delivered room service, came back, got in the elevator with us, went down, put itself back in its charging station, and waited for its next assignment. I was flabbergasted. But it's absolutely true. So with 100,000 people currently living in Maine who have stepped out of the workforce, on 185,000 who have some college and no degree, what are the Maine Community College System, what is the Maine Community College System doing to give these people the 21st century skills that they need? Well, to start with, we're supporting the Maine State Economic Development Plan that focuses on talent and innovation. We're also doing a lot more, and so much so that I have to be honest with you, we have partners in this room who I had planned on highlighting some of the work that we're doing. And I went through this presentation with Karen in our living room and said, here we go, let's see what it looks like. And an hour and a half later, I said, what did you think? And she said, you might have to tighten a little. So what I'm going to give you is the highlight reel in Cliff Notes. Okay, but here we go. First of all, using funding from the 128th legislature that was delivered in 2017, we opened a series of new associate degree level programs. One in additive manufacturing. We opened programs in plumbing and heating, in healthcare, and a whole variety of healthcare related fields. We opened programs in hospitality and tourism management, sustainable construction, and residential and commercial electricity programs. We also used bond issues, gifts from philanthropy, and some of our own strategic reserves to make investments. Nursing simulation laboratories that reduce the cost of delivering nurses into the workforce. An automated anatomy table that also helps reduce the cost and is really quite a phenomenal product. I think we have 2 and possibly 3 of these now in the system. I understand there are like 600 dead bodies inside that. They can dissect the bodies, understand the skeletal system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, you name it. In our precision manufacturing programs, we added pneumatic arms to upgrade the skills that the students have when they reach the field. Central Maine Community College invested in a state-of-the-art gaming arena. That state-of-the-art gaming arena generated 150,000 applications shortly after it was announced. But it also supported a new esports management program. And with a donation from Dead River, thank you very much, we expanded our commercial driving license program. All core needs for the Maine economy. We also looked inside. We took a look at ourselves and we asked ourselves, what's inhibiting students from succeeding, from getting their degrees? It was quite a lot, really. But one of the major inhibitors was math. 50% of the students coming to a community college needed remediation in math. And so we worked with the folks at the University of Texas and implemented a program called Math Pathways. And it aligns math skills with the program-specific needs. And it's dramatically changed the impact of math delivery in our system. So together with co-requisite education, we have almost eliminated the need for preemptive work before a student enters college. We've also gone out and reached out into the community and partnered with several organizations, not the least of which are our partners in the CTEs, the technical high schools. Eastern Maine Community College has recently received authorization from our accrediting body to deliver programming at Hancock Technical Trade Center and the Waldo County Trade Center. And KVCC has offices that were built into the new Mid-Coast School of Technology. There are actually offices and classrooms there specifically set aside for KVCC and for their students to be able to access our programming. We've also worked with the Department of Education. There are job centers on many of our campuses, and we're working with adult ed. And just recently, SMCC opened an office for the adult ed department on campus so that we can get closer to students. Now, we've always known that our faculty have done an outstanding job of guiding students through their curriculum and through their career ambitions. But our students come with challenges. They have food insecurity, housing insecurity, transportation needs, daycare needs, family sicknesses, And so through a grant from the John T. Gorman Foundation, and actually Lisa Gorman herself, they initiated a program called Navigating Success that allows counselors to work with students and help support the daily life needs of a student. Excuse me. Speaking of food insecurity, we're grateful to Hannaford, who is giving us the opportunity to put a food bank on every campus in a community college. That's pretty awesome. So the Maine State Plan, strategic plan, leveraged an idea, and they called it the Maine Career Exploration. But Eastern Maine and their partners at the CTC had already started this exploration. They worked on this bus, and they deliver hands-on technical education experiences in the middle schools so that the faculty and students understand what all is available at the CTEs and at the community college. And we're trying to give those students a greater grasp of the experience they will have so that we can reduce that 38% who are choosing not to go on to higher education. These efforts are paying off. This fall, we reported an increase in enrollment of 4.2%. That bucks a national trend of a decline in enrollment every place else. We are very proud of that, and we're happy to help serve those students and the businesses. But we haven't stopped there. We've tried to innovate. Speaking of innovation, just a little side note here, my daughter gave me a Christmas present, and under the Christmas tree were these socks. Folks up front get a little bit of a fashion show. If you're in back, you got to get here earlier. Here we go. Nice Christmas present. Turns out those socks are made from a little bit of recycled polyester and a product called Tencel. Tencel is produced from wood fibers in an environmentally friendly process. So she gave me wooden socks. Actually, there's similar work taking place at the University of Maine that focuses on developing new materials using nanocellulose derived from wood pulp. The applications beyond fabrication, fabrics and socks, obviously, for nanocellular technology are phenomenal. The University of Maine is working on nanocellulose to produce composites, food packaging, and a whole host of other materials. The thing is, in order to take advantage of this new technology for which we have a natural advantage, we need to be able to harvest the wood in our forests. To do that, we're partnering with the professional logging contractors. And when I say partnering, this is a deep partnership. The Professional Logging Contractors Association pulls together the industry. They also help support bringing over $4 million of equipment into the field, into the forests, and the land that is owned by landowners, which is lent to us, and we're allowed to not only forest the land, but then keep the product, keep the proceeds from that forestation so that we can reinvest it in the program. When you sit in the cockpit of one of these machines, this is a machine called a filler buncher, you begin to understand very quickly that this takes some real training. But understand also that the student who sits in that cockpit needs to understand the forestry management plan, they need to understand the nature and species of the tree that they're cutting, and they need to understand the health and condition of that tree so it can be sorted and delivered for its highest and best use. That training program takes place over 12 weeks in the forest. We'll be starting another one quite soon, and we train about 15 students per cohort. Let me give you another example of an innovative and responsive community college. This past June, Kennebec Valley Community College had one new student enrolled in planning to enroll in its precision manufacturing program. At that very same time, we had a host of companies who needed precision manufacturers. We were talking dozens. So we worked with our faculty association, and we worked with the industry, and we worked with the Maine Quality Center program, and we re-delivered that program starting that July. It's a 6-month training program. It delivered its first cohort of 7 trainees to the industry this December. Later this winter, we'll start another cohort and hope to deliver another 12. Now, we hope to stay with those trainees and deliver degrees. Another really innovative program is what they call Yamaha University. This is a program that delivers 150 hours of training and offers boatyards and other Yamaha service centers the skilled workers they need while improving their opportunities. We are making an impact. Just before the holidays, we certified 10 Yamaha mechanics. We pinned 15 licensed practical nurses. And we delivered certificates to 24 welders and mechanical tradesmen in our partnership with Bath Iron Works. A deep and lasting partnership. Bath Iron Works has hired over 2,500 people over the last 2 years, and we've done everything we can to support them in their needs. In 1 week, we certified 49 Mainers who will now gain traction and build a career in the Maine economy. These are short-term training programs. But please understand, we're not building separate short-term training programs and then leaving our degree programs aside. We're building a new elevator, a new on-ramp to bring students into our degree programming. We have colleges working on what are called digital badges. These badges are valued by employers because they can understand exactly what skills and competencies come with them. And we like these badges because they stack, and you can stack them up and you'll earn a certificate. And from a certificate, you can continue to work on a degree so that we can continue to develop and work with students and have a fully educated Maine workforce. Now, much of that work started about 3 years ago with a grant from the Harold Alfond Foundation. And that new re-envisioned platform for the Maine Quality Center program has delivered training in all industries all across the state. No good deed goes undone. Our growth has been so phenomenal that this year, 2 years ago, we started and we trained just under 1,000 employees. This year, in the first 6 months, we committed to train 2,000, and we are well on track to train 4,000 by the end of this fiscal year. But for one small problem, we don't have funding to support that level of training. Quite frankly, it's a good deal for Maine. It's very short-term in nature, so it's delivering the skills that are necessary as soon as possible. We're talking weeks, not years. It's also very inexpensive to the state of Maine, and there is no debt accumulation on the part of the student. Students can make progress towards a degree. The truth is that Maine needs to invest right across its entire educational portfolio. But right now, our most critical need is in these short-term training programs. So I hope you'll support me as I seek additional funding and keep this engine moving. I've talked to you a bit about change and the things that are changing in the economy and the things that are changing within the Maine Community College System to adapt to the new needs. I do want you to understand one thing, that we will always be the core to your economy. We will train the firefighters and the police officers, the EMTs and the healthcare providers, the electricians and the plumbers, precision manufacturers and welders. And consistent with the theme that was mentioned earlier today, we're helping to support people in recovery and coming out of corrections. The results of people staying clean when they have an education are really, truly inspiring. When I began, I talked to you a little bit about change, the change in our economy, and the changes that we're making. I started by telling my story. So I think I mentioned that we were one of Mayflower's largest agents. Actually, we were one of the 20 largest agents in a network of 600. And we were one of those large agents because we had two key clients. You remember these companies? Yeah. So Kodak actually specifically was the largest producer of 35 millimeter film in 1985. They owned 70% of the market. It was incredible. As it turns out, when I left the transportation industry, the good news is I met Karen, and I spent a brief time in the cellular telephone business. Trust me, when I tell you that my friends at Kodak would never have believed I would have taken that picture with my telephone. Things have changed, and they'll continue to change. The pace of change will be quite rampant. We can't stand still. We need to move with that change, and we need to think about how we approach skill development very differently. Thank you. If you've got any questions, let me know. So if you've got a question, you can see me, but I can't see you all that well. Is there anybody? All right, there are apparently microphones set up. There are 3. Let's go ahead.
David Billman from the City of South Portland, Economic Development Director. I have many questions, but I won't ask you one. I will just make a comment. Trimming that to an hour and a half, that was an outstanding presentation, summarizing and encapsulating all the things we all need to do. Thank you and everybody in the community college system for your partnership and what you do.
Thank you for your support. So Dora, one of our great partners who was in the original version of the presentation.
It's Dora Mills from Maine Health, and again, thank you. That was an excellent presentation, and I think got all of us to think a little differently about skill development. My question is, I think you're doing quite a bit around retraining or training immigrants, new Mainers, and I just wondered if you could comment on that, particularly given here in southern Maine, we have quite a few who have skills, but may need to have retraining.
So actually, there was a picture that was up there of a group of graduates from our Bath Iron Works graduation just before the holidays. And in that picture, there were actually a series of new Mainers, one of whom I met, and this is one of those great stories in life. He had moved here from Costa Rica 4 years ago, and here I quote, to improve the life for his family. 4 years later, he had been kicking around at odd jobs. And when he had the opportunity to graduate from the BIW training program, he called his wife and said, "Get on a plane." And so, excuse me, this past Christmas was the first time that they will have spent Christmas together in 4 years. And it was because he had the confidence of knowing he had a job that had benefits and a career. And it was a great and inspiring opportunity. Those little graduation ceremonies are really quite inspiring. We are working with the new Mainer population. We're actually looking to expand our work, and we're looking to identify vehicles that allow us to take the skills that they come with and the licenses that they come with that don't translate into our system and expedite the ability for those people to help support our economy in much quicker fashion. So it is a very core part of what we're looking at, especially in the Portland and in the Lewiston, Auburn regions. So thank you, Dora.
Hi. My name is Susan Gaddy. I work
Hi,
at
Susan.
Maine Medical Center, Department of Vocational Services. And we help people with barriers to employment find work. And I was wondering, you talked about the underemployed population.
Yes.
People with disabilities is a significant number of people that are underemployed. And I was wondering what the community college systems was doing to provide a support network for that.
We are. We've had several conversations, and in terms of formal programming, we are looking at our ability to staff up and support formal programming. So there are interesting aspects that go with working with people with disabilities, and it turns out that some of what's needed, and you're probably fully aware of this, some of what's needed is what I call two-sided training and education. So we not only need to work on the skill development of the person with the disability, pick your disability, then we also need to work with the employer to understand how best utilize those skills. And so while I can't tell you that we have a program like that we can snap right in and make work, it is a part of our conversation. And I see President Cassidy nodding his head, Dan Bellier is here. We have had those conversations and we're working on those very efforts.
Well, I'd love to be part of that.
We'd love to have you.
Hi, I'm Anita St. Ange, the director at Portland Adult Ed.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, and I just wanted to highlight the new relationship that we have with SMCC that just started. We had an agreement signed by Superintendent Botana and President Cassidy. It's called Building the Pipeline, and it is a relationship between our New Mainers Resource Center that focuses on foreign trained professionals and getting that better pathway. We're looking forward to this relationship, and I think it will bring great things to Southern Maine.
As are we. One of the aspects of our work is to try and not to redo those things that are already working effectively in the community, but figure out how we can partner with people and create better and stronger linkages. And that's reflected in the work that we're doing with Portland Adult Ed. It's reflected in the work that we're doing with the Department of Labor and actually with the Department of Education and especially in the CTE network. John Smith. His name is actually John Smith, by the way.
Thank you, David. So my name is John Smith with Great Falls Construction. And I think that probably most everyone here recognizes the power of the community colleges. And I sat at the table this morning with a 1970 graduate. I'm a 1988 graduate, happened to be in the construction business, and many people that I work with, either employees of ours or subcontractors or team members, have historically gone through the community college system. So the impact is really evident in the current marketplace. I think, some of our concerns are there with the challenges of today. There seems like there's a little bit of a gap, and I think that we all recognize that students and younger people have challenges in access to education. And then the programs tend to, I think, be at risk at times. I know we've witnessed the construction program go through that challenge. And one of my question, David, actually first I want to thank you for all the efforts. It's really evident that you're committed to what you're doing, and we really appreciate that. But my question revolves around marketing. And I know a couple of years ago, there was an initiative in the construction program to do the Construction Institute. And there was a real effort by the college to market that program with a press release, and it filled up just like that. I think they took on 20-something students. We happen to employ at least one of them right now and have for a couple of years. But I'm curious, what efforts are going into marketing for specific programs? And feel free to talk specifically about construction if you want, David, but if you could speak to that.
So I can actually. The work that we've done, that the Harold Alfonda Association, or the Harold Alfonda Foundation has supported, together with our own resources, have allowed us to actually redouble our efforts in marketing. And we're just now having conversation, and Kim Larrabee from Ethos is actually here, and our marketing arm. We're working hard. Our starting point was to get the message back out. Just talk to people about the community colleges. And the next wave is more targeted marketing on the programmatic side. But from the very beginning, the programming was designed to be very targeted towards using social media, using the population's targeting the populations of people that we serve and that have the greatest need. So the generalized answer to your question, John, is that marketing is very much, or beginning to tell our story to people who need to hear our story, and actually to tell it in the form that they will sort of embrace it, is a huge part of what we're trying to do. And it is honestly a big part of also that 4.2% increase in enrollment. I will say one other thing, and John and I have known each other for a long time, and actually there are several people, Dora's another, they're the kind of employers who step up and say, what can we do to work together? And that's the relationship that we really want to embrace. So thank you to John and Great Falls Builders for the work that you've done in the construction industry. And what I'd say is let's redouble our efforts and keep that going, because it's a necessary industry. That slide from McKinsey points that out. Thank you.
Good morning. My
Good
name
morning.
is Katie Shorey with Live and Work in Maine.
Hello, Katie.
Hello. I grew up in Oxford County in Sweden and went to Freiburg Academy. And I don't recall employers or individuals coming to the schools to talk about, opportunities and career pathways, and you can't be what you can't see. And I know a lot of that has changed. And you alluded to it a little bit around when some employers are coming, or like the exploration pathways with careers. So you mentioned it already, but I'm just curious, what can the partners do, or what do you need from employers to help get these images or these ideas of pathways into students' heads? Like, do we need to do more of these site visits? And I'm asking just because I just want to make sure that I know with our work with Live and Work in Maine, if we need to partner or help and step up. I just want to have your input. Thanks.
So the first thing you can do, Dan, stand up. The first thing you can do is call Dan Bellier. This is a guy who loves a challenge and embraces a challenge. But the other truth, and actually if I were to talk about a core change in community colleges nationally, it is that our work is going to be driven much closer to employer needs. We need to get closer to the students, bring them to us, and we need to get closer to the employers so that we're delivering the skills that are needed. The notion of the I'm not sure that there's ever been an ivory tower on a community college, but the notion of the ivory tower is diminishing, and that relationship between the business and ultimately the employer of our students needs to come closer and closer and closer. And really the only way I can think of to do that is to talk. Now in some forums, we'll talk with industry associations. That's what's happening with the professional loggers. We're talking with the chamber about that same kind of relationship. Some programs, it's going to happen directly with the businesses. So there are a variety of different methods, and the God's honest truth is there isn't one answer, and that's been one of the difficult discoveries, is that this workforce challenge doesn't have a silver bullet solution. It requires a lot of very hard work, and it requires the hard work of the people in this room, and it requires the hard work of the community colleges. It requires us to all talk to young people to say, it's never been truer. You're going to need a skill to get ahead. I made a very purposeful point when I put up a cashier and then a customer service representative, because there was a day and age where that was a career path. You could go from a cashier to a customer service representative to maybe being a supervisor. That career path has been cut out because those base level jobs have been automated.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Good morning. I'm Paula Mahoney.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm Paula Mahoney. My question has almost been asked, but you've got a room of a couple hundred people here. What's one thing we can individually do? You asked for our support. Clarify that. What do you need? What can I do today?
I think that it's important that legislators and everyone knows that this is not a partisan issue, that we need to support our education portfolio across the board. And you can take that message and deliver it in the best way you see fit. But Maine has underinvested in education. We have the lowest investment in human capital in all of New England. We also have the lowest college attainment in all of New England. We have the lowest college going rate in all of New England, and we have the lowest income in all of New England. And those factors are related. So there needs to be an investment that helps especially our youngest people, but quite frankly, we work across the age spectrum, and we need to bring the skills necessary to Maine people so that they can go to work and fill the needs of Maine businesses. So thank you.
Hi, Erin Lassard, and I'm part of Women United of the United Way and sit on the Committee for Childcare Advocacy. We are very concerned about the affordability and accessibility of childcare as a huge barrier to workforce development. So it's wonderful to hear about your Navigating Success program. You've found a way to solve that problem for your student body, yet when they transition to the workforce and leave your resources, they're again trying to figure out, how do I take care of my kids so I can enter the workforce? I would love to hear learnings from that program that you put together, counsel for us as a business community, how we can help support that.
So first off, we actually do train or educate more properly the care providers in those early childhood and daycare facilities. Secondly, and I'm going to transition hats a bit, but the two hats go together. As the president of the Maine Community College System, I had the good fortune of working on the state economic development plan. And I think you know that that is a focal point of the state economic development plan. There are aspects of the academic development plan that are intertwined. Broadband, for example, is an intertwined aspect of helping deliver education, especially in our most rural communities. Supporting child daycare and early education opportunities. The numbers around students, young people, very young people, who get pre-K educational support and then go on and attain a degree are really quite phenomenal when compared against those that don't. So the concerns and considerations that you bring forward are very valid, and we need to work collegially. And when I say we need to invest in our educational portfolio, I do mean the entire educational portfolio. Our job gets a lot easier when the students have had a good educational experience coming up through the K-12 system. An aspect, and I will tell you that this was an active conversation in the state plan, was how do we support the development of daycare facilities so that parents have the opportunity to go to work, to get an education, and make sure that they have the confidence of knowing that their children are well cared for. It is a critical need. I agree. Thanks. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, David. We really, really appreciate your words today and your great work with our community college system. I can tell you firsthand, my wife Joan, those of you who know her, spent 5 years at the Southern Maine Community College Foundation helping to raise money to help students get to SMCC. We had an opportunity to see firsthand the important work that our community college system does. So we have a call to action to try to help get money to make sure that these programs can continue. The Chamber will stay in touch with President Daigler and the community college system. So thank you. Another reminder, tickets are on sale now and limited sponsorship opportunities available for our Imagine Portland annual event. Remember to stay up to date with all of our events by subscribing to our newsletter and following the Chamber across all social media platforms. Upcoming event lists are also available on your tables and at registration tables, so take one with you. Thank you again for starting your morning with us each month. We look forward to seeing you at our next Eggs and Issues on February 12th. And once again, that program is The Future of Our Region, Planned Development, and the Economic Impact. So thank you, have a great day, and we'll see you next month.